Chloe and I met freshman year through a mutual friend of ours at a theater event, because we all did theater together. But I didn't actually really get to know her until sophomore year, which was during a production of Wizard of Oz. We decided to all go see a movie together. The movie we saw was La La Land. It was kind of like the big movie of the winter. And after that was when we started the show. And there's kind of this strange intimacy that develops with doing a show together. And, being on and off stage all the time together, because we had the same part essentially, just really allowed us to just kind of hang out and laugh and just get to know each other better.
I would say I started praying for Emma about a month before she started coming, and I invited her. It was honestly one of those Tuesday nights where we start thinking, like, hey, there's people out there in your relational world that you should be inviting, and just kind of, that was like the whole point of the message. So that really got me thinking about who was close in my world, since we had obviously just started rehearsals for the show. So I thought of her, and I didn't really know her very well, so that was scary. But, she was just kind of in my mind, and I was, I've been very passionate all of high school about inviting people to church, and none of them have ever come. And I was like, I just kind of want it to happen. Like, I want someone to come to church, because, like, I really want that to happen for somebody at school. I think that'd be cool, and, like, a good way to open it up to other people. And so, yeah, when she accepted, that was a big deal for me, so.
I knew she was a Christian, but didn't really know how deep her faith was, because, growing up in public school, you don't really talk about that kind of thing. So, but I definitely knew her as being someone who everybody liked. I mean, everybody thought she was just this super sweet person, always made people smile, was always able to, like, sit down and listen, because that's what really matters, People are changing so much in high school that it's just so nice to have someone talk to you that will listen versus just, like, talk over you. So I knew her as someone who was like that. So, I mean, I was definitely excited to, see if, like, the rumor's true, like, figuring everything out. But yeah, I definitely knew she was somebody that I wanted to become friends with. Since we were doing the show together, we would carpool, just because we found out we lived, like, a block away from one another. So it was just like, may as well save gas and, carpool. And she just texted me and said, hey, I have this youth group that I go to every Tuesday night. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, I don't do anything. Why not? Because of course I was scared, because I was like, oh no, I don't want it to just be like, here's a Bible, tell me all about it. And I'm like, I don't know anything you're about to ask me. So that was definitely interesting. But I think I just decided to go because I really didn't have anything else to do. I was going to go home, probably, sleep and do homework. That was it. So to think, and it was also an opportunity to get to go know Chloe more, because we had just started the show when this happened. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it out. Why not? And that was definitely a very interesting experience, but a memorable one too. And I don't really know if it was an obligation or not, but I just thought it was the right thing to do for some reason. And I'm sure at the time that was definitely a God thing for sure, but at the time I didn't understand that. So I definitely had a lot of key moments happen in my spiritual growth. In particular, even just the first night, I found myself very, quietly crying in my chair. The very first time that Chloe brought me, because Jim had asked us a question. He said, there's a door in front of you. You open it up, what's going to be behind it? Anything you could ever want. And of course, my first thought was, since I had just lost my grandpa just a few months before, was he's going to be right behind that door. And of course, that made me just start crying. And I didn't want to be embarrassed. I had never met any of these people before. They were all very nice, but I don't want their first impression of me to be, just crying. So I kind of was like, ugh. So I just sat down, and then worship went up and started playing. And of course, I started crying again, because for some reason, the lyrics touched me for some reason, which, again, at the time I didn't know was really just the Lord being like, welcome, So that was definitely a really big moment, and that made me have to go home and think about a lot of things. And I continued to go throughout sophomore year. And then when junior year came around, I actually took a pretty big 6-month hiatus from youth group, which wasn't something that I had planned on doing, definitely, because I definitely enjoyed going. But I had developed some pretty severe stress issues that I really implemented on myself. It wasn't really anything else that my parents had done or anything. It was really just myself. And my version was very physical pain in my stomach in particular. And that wasn't like nausea or anything. It was just like a stabbing pain in a way. That's the only way I can describe it. But it would be all day long, every single week, every single day throughout that week. And there was really it got to the point where I actually developed an intolerance to lactose and gluten. I didn't even, it just happened, which was like a psyche thing. But that definitely made me think, like, why is this happening to me? Like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, I'm really trying to work this out, and it's just not working. So I started to stop going to youth group. And of course, I felt really bad because I'd get a text from Chloe every single Tuesday, like, hey, you want to come tonight? Like, I'll drive you. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just not going to go. And at that point, I was just so in my own head that I would start to come up with excuses that weren't actually true. I'd give reasons that weren't true, just to make myself feel better about not going. And it really did take a lot for me to get back going. And it got to the point where I had actually had a procedure done in December of last year to kind of find out what was going on, and they ruled out everything. They were like, it's just stress, just be less stressed. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible, but I'll figure it out.
When Emma stopped coming to youth group, it was kind of a surprise for me because she had really enjoyed it the year before, but after summer, she just didn't, it kind of just fizzled out. And I was like, interesting, she would make excuses, but I knew in my heart they weren't true. But obviously I'm not gonna, go there. That would be rude and, overstepping a little bit. So I was like, okay, she just doesn't want to come anymore. Like, I honestly just had to come to terms with, I'm not bringing her to faith. It's the Lord, and He's using me. And I can't make the decision for her. So honestly, I just had hope in the seed that was planted. No one in youth group had made her feel uncomfortable. I knew that whatever happened, there would be a good background with what she'd experienced at HSM. So I knew going into that, like, it took some faith and some time and encouraging her to come back, but it was definitely a little bit difficult, when she left, and it made me have to think about things a little bit harder. I did continue to pray for her, yes. Our whole group was. Everyone was just wanted her to come back so badly. She still has the voicemail of when one night she said she wasn't feeling well, and it was probably like the third week she'd been gone, and our whole youth group called her and was like, come back, we missed you so much, and signed a little card for her, and we just wanted her to come back so bad. And they'd all gotten to know her, and we were blessed to have that same group when she came to Christ, so they really saw everything happen with her, but definitely needed prayer during that time.
So when I really think I really came back because I did feel so bad. I was like, you know what, I have these Tuesdays off. Like, why am I not going? It was kind of that, and I still prayed every single night, everything like that, but it really became a list. I was really just reading off like a script to God. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pray for these people and ask for this, and okay, amen, we're done. And it really wasn't a relationship. It was very much a strict, like, wall. And I knew that there was more over that. I knew that there was. But I didn't know how to get to that. So coming back to youth group was a decision that was really because I almost, in a way, felt obligated. Like, it's my duty to do this. Like, I know that I need to be doing this, but I haven't convinced myself that it's good for me. So coming back was more of that psyche. I went back in April of this year, and I was kind of like, okay, I'll try it out, but I feel really bad because I haven't been here in 6 months. Like, nobody's going to remember me at all, and that's going to be really bad. But of course, everybody was like super stoked that I was back. And I was like, oh, like, I was actually, missed or something like that. But when I came back, it happened to be one of the ones where Chloe was leading worship, and it was the first week that we had sang Tremble. And something about that song, I don't know what it is, but there's something about those lyrics that are just really powerful. And it just really hit me in a way that I wasn't going to expect, to the point where I was literally standing up and just my entire body kind of like got overwhelmingly hot, to the point where I didn't know if I was like about to pass out or something, because it really felt like something was wrong. And Chloe came back over and she sat next to me and she was like, hey, do you want to go over to the prayer stations? Because it was when Carissa had set up the little prayer stations, and I was like, actually no, like, can you sit down, like, I need to talk to you. And she was like, oh, okay. And I kind of just told her essentially what was going on, which was the fact that I can't do it by myself anymore. Like, I knew right then and there that it was something I had to do. I just didn't know how to take that next step because I had never she got me a Bible for Christmas that year, but I didn't know how to open it. I didn't know how to, like, where to start, and she definitely tried to, guide me in where to start, but it was weird because I didn't understand. I didn't have enough knowledge to do that. So when I got to tell her how I was feeling, she was like, okay, like, just, we're going to pray and it'll figure itself out. And then that next Monday I made that decision to follow Christ. Of course, being the huge control freak that I was terrified of what that decision meant. So I texted Chloe and I was like, hey, like, kind of interested in doing this, but I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So I know you don't have all the answers, but do you mind maybe letting me a little bit?
I just kind of explained, in Romans how, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Son of God and that he died and rose again on the third day will be saved. And that's, and just kind of talking through that, the ABCs that, of Pastor Todd, and just telling her, to admit, but then just to believe and then to choose to follow. And, that it was nothing, specific that she had to quote word for word, but it was really just along those lines of opening up her heart and realizing she couldn't do it anymore, but that she needed someone else to do it for her and to help her continue forward in her journey of life. And so, yeah, it was definitely a moment of sheer just letting God do his thing, because I couldn't do anything past that point. It was like literally, it was like the boundary, and God was like, okay, you can't go past this point, sorry. But that night I had worship rehearsal, and Emma had texted me before that and said I accepted Christ, so everyone at worship rehearsal was so excited. And the next day she was just on fire. I mean, she was so excited. And, the first night she said she didn't feel anything, and I was like, oh no, like, why isn't she feeling anything? And I was like, you know what? You don't have to feel anything at first. It's just, the process. She's processing. She's getting there, and it's going to be good. And the next morning it just pounded her in the face, and she just was like so ecstatic. And just the life that she had after that whole experience really gave my faith like a kickstart all over again, because it was like, wow, seeing Jesus through her eyes, through a brand new lens, was just so incredible. Because I just hadn't, it was just a whole almost restart and a recommitment for myself, just to have a friend who's on fire. And then I started taking relationships into account myself, because I was starting to grow with this new believer and all these new friendship opportunities at church opening up. And I was like, I was really starting to grow more and in my own faith with her alongside me. So that was awesome.
I would definitely say that my life makes more sense now, if that makes sense, because you feel like you're living for a purpose. It's definitely led me to contemplate a lot of relationships in my life, those that are good influences and those that are bad. I would definitely say that things seem to look better every day, and if I'm dealing with something, I do have a refuge. If like no one's available to hang out or something like that, the Lord's always there. He's never gonna I'll be like, oh, sorry, he's out right now. You can leave a message. Like, that's not the case. He's always there. So I think that's definitely a better thing. And you really feel like you're living, and you're worth something more. And definitely like the things I love doing are now being able to be implemented into my spiritual life as well. Like my love of just playing music, that's being able to be put into use. And that's so cool, because I've always been like, I wonder what it'd be like to be in a band, and now I'm playing on the worship team, which is so cool. And like one of my favorite things to do ever, because it's just such a crazy experience. So I definitely think he's definitely led me to see what I'm meant to be doing versus what I thought I was going to be doing. Because a lot of things that I planned on doing in my future are not the case anymore, and I'm not worried about it at all. Like, it makes more sense than I thought.
After Emma accepted Christ, I knew that I had a job discipling her, especially since I had helped her get to know Christ in the first place. We read through John to begin with, because that's a great book to start, and to just really lay down where Jesus' life takes place and what happens, and just the basic principles of faith. Since then, Emma's read plenty on her own too, and we're about to start Mark, just start reading through that together. And it's just been a great experience, just getting to walk through those and being open to any questions or whatever she might come across, and help her grow that way.
No, I would definitely say if you want to invite someone it doesn't need to be complex. It doesn't need to be, this huge deal. It is literally just a basic sentence, which is, hey, I had this little youth group. The band goes up and plays some songs, and we break up into small groups, and it's only 2 hours. It's just, do you want to come try it? You don't have to keep coming after that. We encourage you to do, but just come and try it. And that was the open-endedness was very helpful, because you didn't feel like, oh, if I don't like this, I'd have to come back still. She was very good about just saying, it's okay if you don't like it, just try it out. And you never really know until you try it out a few times, because the first time is never going to give you the full picture. It's going to be a first little thing, and maybe there's clearly a reason why you went, which is why the first time I went, the Lord really touched me. So I really think everybody's spiritual journey is their own, and I think their moments can happen when they're 50, they can happen the very first time they go, or they can happen the time they're thinking of being the last time they're ever going to go. And I think it all depends on the person, but I think if you keep on it, and if you keep praying about it, and keep subtly bringing it up, it can really make a huge difference in the way that person feels, because if they know you care, that's the first step right there.
I would definitely say for anyone who's on the fence about inviting anyone to church or engaging them, to just go for it and take a leap of faith, because the Lord will use whatever happens to His glory, and it's such a fulfilling thing to lead someone to Christ, and it's what we're called to do.